Hey everybody, in this video we're going to tell you the untold story of the Sold with Video journey, the Sold with Video company, and really how digital CEOs have discovered thought reversal videos, how we created thought reversal videos that are changing the way launching and selling is done online. This is what we call the new era of launching. We're going to tell you the entire journey. We're going to show you how everything unfolded and how things might be unfolding inside of your business. And it's going to be really fun when we get to this end of the video, because this end is kind of where we start tapping into the things that the successful online entrepreneurs, a lot of the ones that you probably follow online, have really discovered and tapped into. And I'm not talking about just like the newest strategies and the newest marketing tactics. I'm talking about how they actually live their life, how they think. There's different philosophies and beliefs and different things that I've tapped into, a lot of people that I work with have tapped into, and there's an understanding that a lot of us have that allow us to complete this journey and kind of get to the end of where we want to go, which is the successful business, the business that can operate without you having to be there. And I know what it's like because I started my business over here, living with my in-laws, not being able to pay rent, literally broke, like no money in my bank account, all the way to now having a full team, working with the best people in the industry. And it's been quite a journey. I'm going to show you guys this journey and what we discovered, and hopefully when I go through each piece of this journey, you're going to find where you fit into this journey and you can connect with it, and hopefully we can speed up your process so this process doesn't have to take you 5 to 6 years like it did with me. So sit back, relax, plug in your headphones, go for a walk, listen to this video. Don't try to just randomly sit here and watch it. Take the time to really listen, because the lessons that you're going to learn and the little goodie that we have for you at the very end of this is going to be 100% worth it. It could literally change your life and change your business. So what we did and what I started off doing is probably a lot like you guys. I started following people online. I started seeing all these people live these amazing lives, living their quote unquote best life, living their, their Instagram version of their life. And I've seen a lot of people basically living the life that I wanted. And so when I got started, my sole purpose and entire goal was to build a business online. And my entire goal was to make $10,000 a month. That's all I wanted. And what has unfolded over the years has been something that I would never even have imagined or dreamed of. But it all started here with putting out content and trying to build a following on YouTube and trying to get people to opt into my email list, because that's what everyone tells you need to do. Grow a following, build an email list, build a presence, and then sell them something. It sounds easy in theory, and when we break it down in a simple 5-second little phrase, that's essentially what you're going to be doing. But there's a lot of pieces that are kind of moving. There's a lot of psychological things that you need to do. There's a lot of mindset stuff that you have to kind of go through. And so when I first started doing that, we started putting content out on YouTube. We started putting out as much content as I possibly could. I was working at basically my in-laws' house in their extra bedroom on their kitchen table, filming videos with a $300 camcorder that I couldn't even afford. I put it on a credit card and used free software that I can find online, and started to slowly build a following. So then I did the next thing, which you might have tried or you're thinking about trying, which is then to go do a webinar or do a quote unquote launch. And that's exactly what I did. I was so nervous that I actually scripted out an entire webinar. So an hour-long webinar, word for word, scripted it out. Is probably like 20 or 30 pages, literally read everything, including like hit the slide. So I would literally be reading, hit slide until the webinar was done. Closed the card out, did everything I needed to do. And I remember sitting there too afraid to check the PayPal account. I finally built up the courage, checked the PayPal account, and I had 0 sales, no money. I had literally spent months putting out content. I spent months doing the things that everyone tells you to be doing. I spent months putting together a webinar, to put together my program. I actually created the program before I even sold it. And so that was an awful failed launch. And I remember my wife calling me that day and asking me, like, has our life changed forever? How did the webinar do? Because my wife was literally supporting us at the time. And I had to tell her we made no sales. So when I look back and I break down what had happened, I boil it down to 4 things. And if you have that type of experience, if you had that type of experience, if you're afraid of having that type of experience, these 4 things can change all of that for you. There were 4 things that were off, which is 1, the messaging, 2, the lack of structure, 3, an extremely bad offer, and 4 was mindset. And so when we look at messaging, that's one of the most important things that you can have when building a following or building a business online. The messaging is literally how people perceive the information, how they feel about your product and about your program and about your content. If this is off, no one's going to connect with you. And whether you know it or not, or whether you recognize it or not, people actually will buy from connections. They buy because they think you're going to solve their problem and they connect with you. No one is ever going to buy with someone that they think can solve their problem, but they don't connect with. They think if you operate with integrity, but the person who can fix your problem does not operate with an integrity, you're likely not going to buy. Connection and messaging need to be blended together. And if you're not doing that, you're probably experiencing launches that aren't going the way you want, not enough sales, not getting the results you want. And then that also leads into lack of structure. I didn't know how to build a business. I was just some kid working in his in-laws' house, putting up YouTube videos, and then making a pitch on some webinar because that's what the gurus told me to do. I didn't have any structure behind anything. I didn't have a process of doing a webinar. I didn't have a process to follow to do a full email sequence, or I didn't have a full process to follow of like, how do I fulfill with those people? How do I do a launch? I was literally trying to create every little detail as I went along. This whole idea of operating a business based off of systems and processes wasn't even a thing in my head. I didn't even know I was trying to build a business at that point. At that point, I was just trying to replace my income. At that point, I was just trying to build something that would give me the freedom to move out of my in-laws' house. But when I look back, the lack of structure is actually what caused a lot of chaos. And I didn't know any better. But you do. So if you are in that situation, I'm telling you right now, lack of structure is probably what's causing a lot of that chaos. And that's why systems and processes, even if you're not making any money, are extremely vital. Knowing how you're going to fulfill and how you're going to create and how content is going to be put out there, you need a process of all that because it becomes efficient. Otherwise, you're going to run around like a chicken with its head cut off, never making any progress at all. And, if you're really honest with yourself, you might be experiencing that right now, especially if you don't have the results that you want. And then number 3 is the bad offer. Basically what I did is I took the product that I was selling, which at the time was a YouTube course, and I just said, this is what it is, these are the modules, and I never talked about here's the type of results you can expect, or here's how it's going to solve your problems, or here are the problems you're facing, or here's the mistakes you're making, here's the consequences you're going to have to go through if you don't have my product. I literally said, well, there you go, I gave you some free content on a webinar about YouTube. If you want more content on YouTube and more education on marketing and using YouTube, then go buy this product, which is going to give you module 1, module 2, module 3. And that's not really how you present the offer. One thing that always stuck out with me is one of my mentors, James Wedmore, talks about the Thigh Master. And that was actually a failed product. It was a failed product that, it failed because it didn't bring in any sales. And then they brought in Suzanne Summers, who gave it a new offer, and they presented it in a different way. And they presented the entire Thigh Master exercise, whatever you call it, unit or whatever, in a completely different way. They gave it a completely different offer and it sold through the roof. Same product, different offer. And so back then, I never even knew what an offer was. I didn't know we can present things a different way. I didn't know we can frame things a certain way. And we'll talk more about that here in the reflection period. And number 4 is mindset. And the reason why this one messed me up for so long, and the reason why I probably suffered for years that I didn't have to suffer, was because I took this past experience and I took this experience of a failure and I made that experience my reality moving forward. And I've learned now that we can separate the two. I've learned that you don't have to live in your past experiences as an indicator of how the future is going to be told. If you went into a launch the very first time you did it, you're probably full of excitement and full of having that go-getter attitude. And you're going to go into it 100% committed. And then if it fails, and you let that be your experience and let that become your reality, you're not going to move to the next launch with that 100% commitment that you need. But what's going to happen is if you are able to separate the two, you get to take the experiences from that first failed launch and the learning experiences, and you get to go into the next launch with a whole nother education level, a whole nother experience level. And if you're able to separate the past from the future. You still get to go in 100% committed, this time with more tools in your tool belt. But if you let that past experience hold you back down, you're gonna go in with 50%. And that's what I did, because I would do another launch and another launch and another launch, and they didn't work. They didn't work to the level that I wanted. And the reason why is because my confidence level went down. My commitment level went down. I was operating out of fear and not even realizing it. So you need to be very careful with this right here, because this journey and going into this reflection period, it took a few years, but it allowed me to finally move into the reflection period. After a lot of failed launches, after not hitting the results that I wanted to hit, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of crying myself to sleep and crying with my wife on the beach as I went for walks, and she tried to convince me that all of this stuff is going to work out. There was a lot of reflection. And the biggest piece of reflection that I learned, the biggest thing that I learned when it comes to messaging, that you have to create messaging that makes you stand out. So this period of years, my best guess was probably a reflection period of 1 to 2 years. And we'll talk about why, but I was really closed off back then to accepting help and mentors and investing in myself and things like that, which really slowed down the process a lot. But what I've started to realize, and as I started to relaunch this program, which was called Video Overtake University, where we taught people how to rank videos on YouTube and to grow their business on YouTube, I slowly started to make it work. I slowly started to realize, okay, well, our messaging needs to be dialed in. People need to know why they need this. They need to know what problems we're gonna solve, which you probably know that stuff now, but we're gonna dive deeper into like what the secret behind that actually is, what gets people to tick, what kind of messaging allows you to stand out, and to stand out by being who you are, and how to make that part of your business so you generate more sales. We'll talk more about that. But during this reflection period, I realized like I was just doing the same stuff as everyone else, which is great, because when we look at the different levels of market sophistication, you always want to operate at number 5, which is something I've learned from one of my mentors, Jim Fortin, which is you basically have no competitors because you've created your own space, and you're just doing amazing because you have the positioning, really the positioning in your own space that no one can really tap into. But what I was doing, and I didn't realize it at the time, was that I was tapping into number 4, market sophistication number 4, which is basically you're the first one to a marketplace, which is why you're selling, means you have no competitors. But the second you get more competitors coming in, then you're just going to be just like everybody else, and sales will start to go down. So if you are finding yourself in markets level number 4, just be prepared that once more and more people come on and into that space, your market's going to be diluted. So you have to look at different ways to elevate yourself above that. So for me, teaching YouTube, at the time, James Wedmore was the only other person. I was the only other person, but then more and more and more people started coming in and teaching YouTube, because YouTube's not a very complicated process. It's find the popular keywords, trending topics, create videos on it, and essentially you build a YouTube channel. So that was reflection period number 2. Now that took me about 2 years to realize, and now you know kind of where you need to be positioning yourself. And luckily, like I went through it for 2 years, so now you already know that's where you should be shifting your focus if you really want to be the best in your industry, and you want to be able to make sure that sales are always coming in. One of the easiest things you can do is find the messaging and find the way that you can move yourself to the 5th level of market sophistication. But really what started to happen too is I started to realize that procrastination was a huge piece of me not getting the results I want, and me having my business basically kind of be an anchor in my life, because it was hard emotionally, it was hard psychologically. You put so much work and effort into something and it just doesn't sell the way you want it to sell. It's hard. And so what I would start to do is procrastinate. Why I was procrastinating, again, taps into back here, I was letting the past dictate my future, which means that I was feeling like I was getting work done. I was feeling like I was hustling like they tell you to hustle. I felt like I was doing all the things that I needed to do because I was technically working for a lot of hours every single day. But what I was really doing is procrastinating on the things that would cause me to learn, which is experience, which is launching. And the reason why that was happening is because I was too afraid to go through another failure, another failed launch. So it took me a while to go into our next launch. And this was a product called the Video Funnel Blueprint. At this point, Video Overtake University was still selling and told you how to generate traffic and build a following on YouTube and use it for business. And it was selling on Evergreen. And it was nice because my YouTube videos would put people onto my email list, which would then go and sell my product, which allowed me to create Video Funnel Blueprint. So I finally put it out after so many years of procrastinating, and I did a launch, and that launch generated $6,000 in revenue, which is a lot better than doing zero like I did on the first one. But it was the same process of putting stuff out there and being discouraged because all the sales basically came in the last day. So when you put all this money and all this time and all this effort into going and launching something, and for the first 6 days of the launch, no sales come in, it's extremely discouraging. You really start to doubt yourself. But what, in my opinion, what helped me kind of get that $6,000 in sales was the fact that I focused on the benefits. I started looking at my offer and presenting my offer as the benefits they're going to gain instead of just the physical items they're going to get or the training they're going to get. So instead of saying things like, oh, in this module you're going to learn the 5 most important funnels that you can implement in the step-by-step instructions, you're going to learn the 5 most important funnels that are going to help you build your email list on autopilot. So we would start using language that would show the benefits of what people are going to get, which in my opinion is the first step that you should be taking if your messaging is still on this side. But as we go through the rest of this, you're going to see why only focusing on the benefits is probably still holding you back. But anyways, that's where the process started to happen. And then what really kept me stuck for so long was that I was completely closed off to mentors. I was completely closed off to accepting help. I wanted to do everything myself. I wanted to take on everything myself. I didn't want to be told that I was wrong. Even though the results showed that I didn't really know what I was doing, I wouldn't listen. And many of you guys may know who Jim Fortin is, who coaches me, Rick Mulready, James Wedmore, and a couple other people in the industry. He actually reached out to me because he needed help with YouTube and offered to coach me for free, and I was closed off. Like Jim Fortin, who literally charges $15,000 to $20,000 for one-on-one coaching, offered to do that for free for me, and I said no. Like, that's how closed off I was. And when I look back through my journey, my 5-year journey, this process here, which took about from here to here, took about another 3 years, could have happened in 6 months to a year if I would have just been completely open. I literally wasted 3 years of my life by not accepting that, not being closed off. And so I really challenge you that if you're trying to go onto this journey, to really look at where are you being closed off? Are you completely open to accepting help? Are you completely open to investing in yourself? Or are you still living by circumstances? I can't invest in that because I don't have the money. I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. That's not going to work because of X, Y, and Z. If you really want this journey to be sped up, you really need to be more open with accepting help, accepting you don't know everything, and trying more things. The more you try, the more you experience, the more you're really going to learn. Because you don't really learn to ride a bike by reading a book. You learn to ride a bike by actually riding a bike. And so that's what you need to do, is be open, keep trying, keep experimenting, investing in yourself. And that's kind of where I was at this point. So by this point, I was getting closer and closer to my $10,000 a month goal. Right around this time, I started falling back into what I knew, which was video and working with local businesses. And I started actually offering a service in combination with my products. And from there, right around this time is kind of where I met James Wedmore. Now, he was very interested in what I was doing with YouTube at that point. We ended up partnering up on a product, teaching other people how to grow a business selling videos to local business owners. And through that, and having James as a mentor really sped up this process. And at the same time is kind of when I let Jim into my life as well. And I had James Wedmore and Jim Fortin as a mentor, which was a godsend to me. I mean, to have those two guys as a mentor literally changed my life. And so at this point, this is where the real journey actually started. This was all self-sabotage BS that I had to go through because I was too stuck in my own ways. This is where I finally opened up. And if you're still stuck in these 2 periods right here, it might be time for you to open up, look for help, be open to other people's ideas and perspectives, especially if they have the results that you want, and learn how to not live by your circumstances and to actually invest in yourself, whether it be time, money, whatever you need to do. But by this point, this is when the discovery phase started to happen. This is when I started to see really good results with products. I was doing well on the service side of the business. By this point, we had actually broken that $10,000 a month goal. We were doing about 15 grand a month, selling videos to local-based businesses. And then James and I launched our product called Local Video Academy. And we did our very first launch and did $250,000 in sales. That was the most that I've ever done in any digital course product sale, because the one before was $6,000, this one was $250,000, because James was pretty much leading the ship on there. But that process of going through Local Video Academy basically taught me how to launch a product. And so I took that knowledge, and that was probably another year or two process, and I took that knowledge and I partnered up with someone else and helped them launch their product and was partners with them just like James was with me. But right around this point, I started to learn a lot. And this is where we start tapping into the secrets that I told you about in the beginning of this video that a lot of really successful entrepreneurs understand. It's the secrets of messaging, positioning, and mindset. And at this point, I started to realize, and I started to learn from Jim and James, what's really going on and what reality actually is and how people operate, and that human psychology is everything. And I really started to do a lot of self-development, and that self-development really opened up the field of content. How do we create content that connects with people? How do we create content that plays into how humans think? How do we properly communicate what we're trying to tell people? Because sometimes it feels like you just want to be at the top of a mountain and just scream, this can help you. This is what you need, but you don't know the words or the language that can properly describe that in the way the human mind processes information. And this whole journey, light bulbs started to go off. As soon as I opened myself up to everything, light bulbs started to go off. Things started to get to me. I call them downloads, but things started to come to me, and just ideas would hit and ideas would hit and ideas would hit. And when we went to go launch this new product that I was doing with a business partner, I started to realize for the past 2 years, we've basically just been running people straight into a webinar or a video series, and then we make an offer, and it works, and we sell. But what if we took 2 to 3 weeks to run people through a process using content to tap into pain, objections, and connections? And this is where thought reversal videos really started to take place. The idea behind a thought reversal video was to run people through content that gets them to identify the pain that they're having in their life, and also allows you to overcome objections they're going to have when they enter the sales process. Imagine what it would be like if you were able to run content on Facebook or wherever, and you built these remarketing audiences of, let's say, 1,000 people that could not use objections to not buy your program. Let's say, for example, someone uses the excuse, I don't have the money, and you completely obliterate that objection in a video before they enter your sales funnel. And you got them to realize that by not investing in themselves, they're actually holding themselves back, and they're living by their circumstances. Imagine if 1,000 people who could not use that objection against you entered your sales process. How many more sales would you make? It's life-changing. Now imagine they went through the same process of you telling them, this is the pain that you're going through in your life, and this is what's causing it, and you start listing the mistakes they're actually making in their business or in their life. It's a very powerful thing when you start saying, this is what you're doing, and it's something they're actually doing. This is the pain it causes you, and it's the pain they're actually going through. And you give them, this is the solution to fix it. And you tell them that over and over and over again in what we call thought reversal videos. But then we take it a step further, because like I said in the beginning of the video, people don't buy just because you can fix a problem. They buy because they also connect with you. So you have to integrate connections there. And that's where the personal beliefs come in. Look, like I'm not selling anything in this video, but if I was making an offer at the end of this video right here, and you were, let's say, an entrepreneur and also a father, and I started talking to you about my beliefs with kids and children, and I talked about my own children, you're gonna start to connect with me because I have certain beliefs about kids. Like my kids are my life, my kids are my world. And if you got to the very end and someone was making the same exact offer as you, but I had kids and you identified with someone that had kids, and the other person did not have kids, you're more likely to buy with me. And that's why connections are so important. And that's where thought reversals come in. Thought reversal videos allow you to remove objections, to discredit beliefs that people have that are stopping them from buying from you. And they allow you to lay down your personal beliefs and connect with people at the identity level. When we look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk, they don't do how-to content and all this other stuff and webinars and whatever. It's all about content that plays into the identity of their avatar. In Gary Vaynerchuk's example, it's the entrepreneur. That's why he grew so fast, is because he's playing into this. But that's what thought reversals did, and that's what we started to discover. So we would release these thought reversal videos before every single launch, build up buzz, remove objections, build connections, show the pain that they're in, what's causing it, and then we would run those people into the launch. And guess what? Conversions went up, opt-in rates went up, sales conversions went up, everything went up. And at that time, I started to build out a team. I couldn't afford an in-house team like we can today, but we had an overseas team. So I would literally pay people overseas to start editing videos or to do tasks for me. And it doesn't matter how much you can afford or how little you can afford. You can hire people for $2 an hour overseas to go handle things. And I'm not one of those people that are gonna say like, we have to keep the jobs in the States. Like, a human is a human. If I can improve someone's life just because they live in the Philippines, I'm not gonna stop myself from doing that. I couldn't afford someone in the States at the time. So instead of just working myself into the ground, I paid people well overseas and improved their life. And I was able to build a team overseas. And I was able to actually get more done with less of my time being required, which allowed me to focus on things that I love focusing on. And then when we moved into the offer, I had the biggest realization, which seems really stupid now. And if you have not done this yet, you might be struggling with your offer and struggling with sales. But the biggest thing we could do with our offers, we actually started to listen to what people were telling us. People in your audience and people consuming your content will literally tell you how to sell to them. But most people never realize that. So what we did is we actually listened, because when we take a YouTube product, for example, I can say, hey, this is gonna help you build your YouTube channel. This is gonna help you build your email list. This is gonna help you build a following. This is gonna help you generate more sales. This is gonna produce leads in your sleep. Because YouTube can literally do all of those things. Even though it can do all of those things, I'm not gonna tell people it can do all those things. Because if I survey my audience and they tell me, we just wanna learn how to use YouTube with an email list, guess what? When I go into the launch, that's the only thing I'm gonna focus on. I'm going to position my entire product and make my offer of the YouTube course as a tool that will help them build their email list. And that's what I lead in with. That's what the thought reversals are about. That's what our webinar is gonna be about. That's how we're gonna present the offer. And as we present the offer, we can start listing all those other things. But the second we started listening to what people were telling us, that shifted everything. So when you combine thought reversal videos with listening to your audience, your launch and your selling is just gonna start going through the roof. But what really happened and what really opened up and really allowed us to elevate, now we're really starting to tap into the secret stuff that most people just don't understand, but a lot of these successful entrepreneurs do, is when I started coaching with Jim Fortin, and I started to realize and I started to develop on a spiritual level, self-development level, is that everything we think to be true in our life is not true. Everything is a belief. And the best way to tell whether something is truth, the truth, or it's a belief, is if the video camera can capture it with no audio, and you can visually see what's happening in the camera. That is the only truth that ever exists. Anything beyond that is a story and an interpretation and a belief created by us in our head. For example, we can look at one situation where, and this is a true experience, and this is where things really open up for me, is when I understood this concept and I looked at how my mom was, and I looked at her as controlling. And I started to look at it through the lens of a video camera, and all it was my mom saying certain things. And I realized all there was this event. And I was giving this story, and my mind was going and attaching the story and this interpretation that my mom was controlling. My mom's interpretation and story was, I love my son and I don't want him to make mistakes. One event, two completely different interpretations, and this goes on in your head all the time. Which, when we look at this from a marketing standpoint and marketing perspective, the objections that your audience is holding in their head, the reasons why they are not buying from you, is a belief. It's a belief that they had, it's a story that they've been told. And the most amazing thing about this, and this is why I love what I do, is because you can discredit those beliefs and you can remove that suffering from them. That's what thought reversal videos are really doing, because right now there are people that you can help. There are people that are living in these beliefs that they have built up over the years of just living on this planet, that are stopping them from getting in your program or your course or going through your service that can actually improve their life. But with thought reversal videos, we can remove those beliefs and set them down our sales process, and we can actually make a bigger impact. Because everything in this life, through the coaching I've done with James and the coaching that I've done with Jim, is you start to realize everything in this world is a belief. And if there is a belief that doesn't serve you, you need to get rid of it. And that's why I love what I do. And I help people like Caitlin Batcher. I help people like James Wedmore, Rick Mulready, Stacey Tuschel. I help a lot of entrepreneurs in the space get their messages defined, remove beliefs that their audience is holding so that they can get into the programs. The programs are going to change their life. And that's why I love also working with James Wedmore, because James Wedmore is in complete alignment with this inside of his business and his program like Business by Design and different things like that. That's where the shift is. And this concept that everything is a belief and nothing is really real is something that most people and most successful business owners actually understand, which allows them to operate here where nothing can stop them. I don't care if my business goes under and I have to start back over or do whatever. I am not going to attach anything to that scenario that doesn't serve me. And that right there is what allows us, these successful entrepreneurs, to take off. And if you really want to take off, get your messaging, get your offers, and get all that stuff dialed in, but really play into and really explore the idea of everything as a belief. Because when you understand that, your thought reversal videos are going to go through the roof. And not only are you going to make more sales, but you're going to impact a lot of people in a really good way. And really, if you're like me, that's what this is all about. So now, after all of this, the Sold with Video company and myself, we've positioned ourselves in a whole nother arena. We're positioning ourselves outside of just someone who teaches video marketing and YouTube, because it's all just one little community of people talking about YouTube and talking about video marketing and talking about local marketing and whatever. We're over here talking about something completely different. We're talking about thought reversals. We're talking about discrediting beliefs. We're talking about building bigger audiences and launches using video content, but it's all about the scripting and the messaging, because that stuff can change your life. It can change your launch, it can change whatever. We're in our own space. Nobody can touch us. We're in the 5th level of market sophistication right now, and you can do the same thing too. You just got to connect the dots and figure out what is that unique thing that you do. And that's the process. That's the process of what you can find. What is unique about you? What is unique about what you do? I want you to take a stand for something. I want you to stand out by taking a stand for something. And that's what James is doing, especially when you look at James's content right now. It's polarizing content that's about stuff that nobody's talking about. And he's getting a lot of resistance, but resistance from the people that are not his avatar. But the people that are his avatar absolutely love it. And now he's going to be able to send them into a launch. He's removing their objections, removing the thoughts that aren't serving them. And he's going to be able to serve a lot more people now. And then so what we've been able to do is that we moved into our own space and we're generating more revenue, we're doing those things. We're starting to really remove me from the business. And when I say from the business, I mean like being in the day-to-day. And so we now have a team of 6 people in-house. We have another team of 3 to 4 overseas. And I am slowly being removed so I can do more content like this, the stuff that I love doing. And so that's what happens in this journey. And then when we start looking at the offering, and when you can really tap into thought reversal videos and removing beliefs and discrediting beliefs, and you can play into pain, objections, and connections, what tends to happen is people want what you sell before they even know what you're selling. When I create content like this, and I create content like this videos, and we dial in thought reversal videos, people will apply for your programs. They will send you emails saying they want to work with you, or they want more of whatever you're selling, or I don't care what you're launching, just let me buy it. And there may be some of you guys experiencing that here on this video. If you're watching this entire video, a lot of this stuff might be making sense with you, and you might be telling yourself, whatever he's selling, I want, but I'm not selling anything. At least not yet. We do run a business, we'll sell something down the road, but obviously the idea of this entire video is to tell you guys our journey, allow you to find where you are in this journey, and to let us help you. Because over the next 3 weeks, we're gonna be diving more into all of this stuff and unlocking the secrets of business, which is the structure and the processes and the systems and the messaging and all of that stuff. And we're gonna start unlocking little bits and pieces of this, and we're gonna be introducing you to some of my mentors like Jim and James, and get all of this stuff dialed in for you over the next few weeks, and actually the next few months, all the way going into November. So if you wanna learn more about this, we have 2 things for you. Number 1, we have a case studies video of where you can see 3 digital CEOs who have gone through this process with me. And I have helped craft this in their business, and you can see exactly how they're doing it right now. You can see their examples, you can see their results, you can see how they're using thought reversal videos in this new era of launching and stepping into the role of the digital CEO. So if you guys want that, the link is below this video. And if you want to join us in the New Generation Entrepreneur Facebook group, you can go in there where we're going to be doing more behind the scenes. We'll give you some interviews of my team and show you guys how we're structuring different things, how people that have been working for me for just 3 months are already becoming masters of this thought reversal thing and writing it for our clients and mastering this whole idea of everything is a belief. We can tap into pain, objections, and connections and build a really successful launch. So if you want to join the Facebook group, the link is either up or below here. If you want to grab those case studies, up and below. And I would love your feedback on our story of how the thought reversal video was created. So leave your comments below this video and we'll see you guys soon.